Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. Autumn, it's just before Thanksgiving, and things are feeling beautiful in the mountains of Arizona. This is God's country. I don't care what time of year, what season. This is the place to be. It is so nice. I'm having quite a few customers coming in, and the pine trees have just thrived this year. So we went from drought a year or two ago into they had moisture. They had last year's winter moisture. They had the spring's growth. They just grew. If you cared for your pine trees, natives or ornamentals are, you planted it there. Natives are, you built your house around it. No matter the conifer, the pine tree, they thrived. Now, here's the question that people keep asking. It seems like my ponderosa pines are dropping more needles than usual. Are you seeing that elsewhere? Yeah. My pinyon pine trees have more debris coming down. My junipers have more, my conifers, the evergreen plants are dropping more litter, more needles, more pine cones, more this year than past. And let me explain what's going on. So what happens is when a spruce tree, a fir tree, an Arizona cypress, when an evergreen conifer elongates in spring, you get one growth out of this a year. So it elongates in spring, and they put on a lot of growth this year. So now that those needles they've matured, they've thickened, they've got this nice waxy coat to them, they got a deep, rich green or blue color to them. They're happy. Then what happens? They start to put another band of ring on, another band of wood, ring of wood onto that tree. So the tree physically gets bigger on the branches and on the trunk itself. After that, the bark actually gets thicker. And so with all this new growth, so the new candle growth, the new branches have elongated. So now that this year's growth is now shading last year's old growth. So the inside of this plant doesn't get as much sunlight as it used to. Now it's put on an extra band of wood. And so now the tree's gotten larger. The bark has gotten thicker. And so the needles that were tapped into that live tissue underneath, they've actually feeding off the structure, the roots, the nutrients coming up from the roots. They are now being pushed out. The needles, the bark is actually pushing some of those needles out. And so to have this autumn season, this natural growth, dropping the old growth, encouraging the new growth, this is what's going on. It's getting more shaded. It needs sun. The days have gotten shorter. So it's going, oh, okay. I don't have enough sunlight to keep all the foliage going. Not only that, but it can't get to the nutrients that are coming up from the roots because the bark has gotten thicker. It's just the inside of a pine tree never has pine needles. And that's the reason why, because the bark, it makes it more drought hardy. So that thicker bark insulates it from the cold of winter, keeps it off the dryness. So it keeps it from perspiring, keeps the bark from getting cold or hot in summer. So it's a natural part of a pine tree, a conifer's DNA. But when the plants are stressed, they don't put on a lot of growth. They don't have a lot of bark growth. They don't have a lot of tree ring growth. They're very narrow. So things are in hibernation. They're like just struggling to stay alive. This year, they didn't struggle. So if you see more pine needles dropping on your yard, on your deck, on your car, than maybe last year, the year before, 2020, 21, 22, the years past, then that's the reason why this year was the plants thrived. It's a good thing. It actually helps the plant defensively keep bark beetle and flathead borer and tip borers, the insects that feed naturally off of their favorite food is a pine tree, a An Arizona cypress has tip borers. So it naturally keeps those plants from getting bugs because it's growing so fast. The nutrients are flowing up and down that tree because they're healthy. They can defend themselves. It's when trees are stressed, when plants themselves, when people are stressed, they're more prone to be sick or have issues. Well, same with trees that are out there. So it's actually a good thing. A lot of folks are sending me texts, email, Facebook posts. They're going, oh my gosh, I see a brown needle. Should I be worried? I just planted this, a year ago. But no, not to worry. You're okay. It's a natural part of that cycle. I would say too, as the needles drop, you can clean some of those up. A rookie mistake I find people make: needles drop and they like pristine rock going right up next to the trunk of the plant. They don't want any litter coming in, no leaves, no needles, no pine cones, no. And so they rake all these things up. A healthy plant, a juniper, let's say alligator juniper or a pinyon pine, they like to protect themselves. It's a natural defensive thing the plants do. They're actually trying to bury anything that tries to grow underneath their drip line. The outer branch, from the trunk to the outer branch, is called the drip line. And so plants will naturally throw off some of these needles to two things. It keeps other seed from coming up in their root zone. They're protecting their space. They don't want to compete with any water or food in this area. This is all for me. Make sure nothing else can grow here. And as those needles kind of give you a duff or a layer of mulch, or it keeps that root structure from drying out, keeps it cool in summer, keeps it warm in winter. So it's a natural thing for plants to throw off some needles, not all of them, especially on the inside of the plant is natural. On the outer side or the top of the tree, if those are going brown, you might have something else going on. That's going to be gophers and grubs, and it's in a hard pan that just can't breathe. You're watering too much. These are all things that, if the needles are browning on the outside coming in, not healthy. On the inside of the tree, throwing off a few branches, perfectly natural. Don't worry. Fertilize now. The plant will actually pick up that nutrients and you'll get a whole nother set of growth next spring. Your most important feeding of the entire year is now, especially for evergreens. So they're going to use this food to form the candle growth, the elongation of that next year's growth is going to be done with this year's this plant food you put down right now is so important. Same for fruit trees. The fruit tree will pick up the food now and form next spring's leaf bud and flower buds. So your fruit next year, the amount of fruit you get is dependent on how much fertilizer you give it right now. So it's super critical, and you need an organic, granular food. Stay away from that liquid Miracle-Gro junk. It goes through the food, through the ground so quickly the plant can't pick it up. It needs granular foods. Stay away from those chemical fertilizers. You're going to put that turf builder on there, this chemical-based fertilizer, going to burn off your worms, the good things that are in the soil. It'll help form next spring's bud, but you're doing damage while you're doing good for the plant. So organic foods help feed the plant, and it doesn't get rid of or shoo off or scare away all your worms, mycorrhizal colonies, all the good things that are happening in the soil. And you're not going to poison yourself. Chemical fertilizers, they're easily picked up and thrown into the groundwater, into your well water, and you folks on wells, please, for the love of gardening, use organic fertilizers, plant foods. We make our own here. They're for us. They're much safer for your pets, for the birds, and for you. And you'll have more worms and stuff. So I'd say don't stress out if you see some pine needles dropping. It's normal. It's this time of year. It always seems to happen. Enjoy the autumn colors as leaves drop and needles drop. Keep some of those needles down there. It helps to insulate the plant. A little bit is good. A lot, maybe clean some of that up. So we've got a lot in store for you this show. Don't go anywhere. We got Lisa Waterslane coming in with your garden questions right after this.
Grow extraordinary succulents and cactus indoors.
Water succulents are easy with lots of shapes, sizes, and colors.
Whether you're looking for a small cactus for an office desk or a huge statement succulent in your living room, we have the perfect plant.
So what are you waiting for?
Visit Watters Garden Center in Prescott today or wattersgardencenter.com to find the perfect succulent for your home and office.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Watters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Watters Garden Center. You've been listening to Ken Lane, the Mountain Gardener. Green thumbs learned while working in the Family Garden Center. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Watters-Lane in the studio. She comes each week with your gardening questions. Just what are your neighbors talking about? What do we see on Facebook, Twitter, emails, response back to our newsletter, our garden club members? They know how to get a hold of us and ask all the really juicy questions. And so we just try to summarize some of those. Welcome back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Good to be back.
It is good to be back, isn't it?
It is.
Back in the rhythm of things. So
Yeah.
I whisked my girlfriend off to,
Took his wife too.
well, same thing, girlfriend, wife, to Germany, Austria. We went to go visit friends in Austria. And they live here and they live there. And they said, you should come visit. We'd love to. And so off we went the last couple of weeks. And Austria is
beautiful.
I would say so.
Absolutely beautiful. We went at the perfect time.
Yeah.
All the colors were changing. And it's probably one of the best displays of color that I have seen. It was just gorgeous.
Of course, you got the Alps. So you're displaying the color against the Alps. And there they are. So
I know. But it was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous. The country is very lovely. Very, very nice people. I think we were treated very, very well.
They love Americans. They love, they're very hospitable, very cordial, very almost like a southern, like the south of the U.S. is very friendly, maybe more friendly than New Yorkers. Well, it's that. They're very friendly. And they like to help you and just kind of tell you about their country. Where have you visited? Oh, you got to go here too. Very proud of their country. It's awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful. It was the town we were in was kind of reminded me of a little town. It's a big ski town.
Yeah.
Of course, we weren't skiing then, but I would definitely go back. Definitely beautiful. We're seeing again. We also went to Munich, kind of flew into Munich, went to Austria, came back to Munich, which is big city.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have that dichotomy, that kind of mix up of big cities, small countries.
Germans. I love Germans. Germans are great.
They're on a mission.
They
go places
focused,
with purpose.
They make things happen. It's coming through. So
don't get in the biker's way in Munich. Oh my gosh. You will.
Absolutely. See if we can help you with this
microphone does not want to stay.
Yeah, there you go. So
so we went to English Gardens in Munich, which is just this big, it's like, what's the place? Central Park in New York. It's just this big open trails, bikers, creeks, rivers.
Yeah.
That was fun too.
Oktoberfest, just off of that. So some Oktoberfest, but there's lots of fall color. So autumn in that part of Europe is stunning. I mean, Germany is a great country. Love going to the Autobahn. If you're in the fast lane, get over it and get out of the way because there's a Lamborghini coming on you now at 50 miles.
Don't be driving a minivan.
It's like you're on a tricycle out there, the freeway. Get out of the way. So that was kind of fun for me as a I don't know, gearhead kind of person. I like fast cars, but I'm in a minivan going 100 miles an hour.
Transporting a lot of people.
And you're getting down to Austria, Prune, and Salzburg, and all the things in between to see where Mozart wrote all of his stuff and the sound of music and where it was filmed. Yeah, it's a good time. I'd go back too.
I love their houses. I think because their summers maybe are short, they love to do color in front of their houses. And they geraniums that were huge and petunias that crept all the way down the houses. But you can tell they just really love to do that pop of color in the summer. And it was a lot of them were still blooming, hadn't gotten too cold yet.
No,
So
they
it's
had one little
gorgeous.
light frost, but it was
Mhm.
still peak of color,
Right.
and yet autumn.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know, but for some reason, beer just tastes better there. I don't. It's probably the same. They probably just repackaged Coors Light, but
Oh, I don't think
it
so.
did taste better. It was like richer, thicker, better. I don't know, something about Germany and Austria where things just, and you're outdoors
We
in
tried
the
a
park.
lot of the beer. We did.
We did.
It was good.
So we should go into not just travel,
Mhm.
not just us, which I'm sure a lot of our customers, a lot of gardeners like to travel
Oh,
too.
yeah.
They like to read. They like
Mhm.
dogs. They like cats. They like horses.
We're talking about dogs. Oh my gosh. Germany and Austria, they love their dog.
And
You
bigger
think
dogs.
we bring dogs places?
Yeah.
You're sitting in a restaurant and there's a dog right next to you.
Yeah, they're
love
welcome to go everywhere with
their
you.
dogs. And it's so clean. I mean, a lot of dogs, you think there'd be a lot of,
Yeah.
but
No.
it is so clean. It's so nice. Sorry, I distracted you.
So dogs, they like their dogs. Yep.
They
Central
do.
Park, they're very clean,
Yeah.
it's very beautiful country. You got to go. If it's not on your list, it should be. Go. Austria is storybook. Just think Disneyland and that whole castle looking thing. Yeah, that's Austria. It's that only for real.
Yeah.
So anyway, garden
That's
questions.
fine. Okay, questions. We're done with the travel portion of our show. Okay, John is in Chino Valley. He really wants to put on some pecan trees out there in Chino. Can you put pecans in Chino? Will you get the nuts? Will they grow?
Yeah. John, no. So yeah. There are some pecans. Pecans will grow out there, no question. They will be beautiful, magnificent, great shade trees. The question is, will they put the nuts on?
Mm-hmm.
So they seem to grow. So pecans thrive at this elevation. They put the nuts on up to about 4,000, 4,500 foot level. What's Chino Valley? About 52, 5,600, depending on where you are on that valley.
Right.
You're definitely at 5,000 plus. If they fruit, they won't be very much, and it will be very infrequent. If you want a pecan tree or if you want a nut tree, go with walnuts. Almonds thrive out there. They produce better than anywhere else in the country. So maybe there's some better choices. I don't know. I would say no.
Same for pistachios, right?
Pistachios,
high level.
Yeah, they put the nuts on. It's just they grow at the same elevation, so about the same place. They'll be a beautiful tree, beautiful red. But if you want the nuts, there's really only two that are consistent every time. Of course, Arizona walnuts grow up here, but Carpathians, the thin-shelled ones, it'll grow up here too. And almonds. I mean, it says almonds do really well up here. Yeah, almonds are probably a better choice.
Okay.
At this elevation.
That's probably true. All right. Jake in Prescott Valleys has a chase tree and a desert willow. They kind of took a hit with that first frost.
They did, yeah.
Looking kind of bad right now. He wants to know, can he trim them back now? Or do you need to wait until later in the season?
Yeah. So a lot of those summer blooming shrubs, they were stunning. Some of them were still in color. And then we got cold just a few days ago. And the foliage got burned back. So they turned brown, black. They just don't have green. They don't have fall color. They just went yuck. So the cold, they just caught them by surprise. And so, yes, you can prune them back better. Let me quote the book for you first. The book says to wait until the cold of winter has slowed down the sap and the structure of the plant to where when you make a cut, there's no weeping of sap. That's not quite now. We've had one little quick cold snap, but not enough to really slow down the metabolism of that plant. So you'd be better off, if you can, to wait till after the new year. Because by then, in another month, it's truly cold. We've had several nights of cold and the sap is not flowing as quickly. And mainly the insects that were floating around aren't going to be attracted to, if it does weep, aren't going to be attracted to that sap coming out. So if you can wait 4 or 5 weeks, do that. But if it's just driving you crazy and you got to do it, it's safe for the plant. Will bugs find it attractive? Yes. Have they been killed back enough? No. Could you keep an eye on it? Yeah, you could. But if you could, ideally do most of your pruning the New Year's through March of next year. That's the peak window. And I'm just quoting the Pruning Encyclopedia 101 if you can. But a lot of folks, they get really impatient. They don't want any brown leaves on their branches. They just want twigs or evergreen. If that's driving you crazy, yeah.
If it's not too big, you could go through and kind of knock those leaves off, or take a broom in there and kind of knock them off. I get how it just looks, but yeah, if you can hold off and be patient, it's better.
Yep. Well, we are out of time. So thank you, Lisa, for coming back in. We'll have you back in here in a couple segments. Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners, be right back right after this. For luxurious evergreens in the yard, look no further than Watters.
We have a luscious selection of evergreens that look their best in winter, so you can enjoy a beautiful landscape no matter the cold.
Locally grown for stunning appearance and ability to thrive in cold weather.
Perfect for that touch of luxury your neighbors are sure to be jealous of.
Luxurious evergreens at Watters Garden Center in Prescott and wattersgardencenter.com.
Your one-stop shop for evergreens. Visit us today.
If you enjoy this show and would like to hear more, please subscribe to The Mountain Gardener wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more garden tips, tricks, and helpful advice, please check out my website at wattersgardencenter.com for classes, videos, and more, or my online garden center at top10plants.com. Throughout the week, Lisa and I can be found here at Watters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to Ken Lane, aka the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Watters Garden Center. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to Mountain You've been listening to the Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation every week as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at wattersgardencenterer.com. That's Watters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Now welcome back your host, Ken Lane.
So the last of the vegetables, my summer vegetables, have been picked. There's no more. There's no more cucumbers, no more tomatoes, at least in my gardens. So I didn't protect them. I covered them for a few nights, and I went, okay, that's it. That's enough. It's got too cold, too strong. And the way you can tell when your vegetables are done, basically the foliage turns black. And so what happens is these are tropical plants, things that form a fruit. So your eggplants, pumpkins, squash, beans, these are things that form an actual fruit that you pick off and use in the kitchen. Those are typically tropical plants. They love the summer. They do not like frost. And so we've had our first frost, at least here in the Central Highlands. You folks maybe in a little lower elevation. Your time's coming within days, but basically we're here at the end of the season. The way you know frost got to your plant is a tropical plant has zero antifreeze in it. And so if you look at them cold, if you get close to 32 degrees or freezing, they turn black. So the sap inside the foliage or the stems, the structure of the plant, the cells of the plant literally explode. And the plant just wilts and dies. And the indication will be the next morning, the leaves are black. They look like someone took a blowtorch to them. So they just melt. They just turn black. And it can be just the top edge turns black. And then as we get a few more nights of cold, of freezing, the whole thing will turn black. Well, I went, okay, I've seen a few black leaves. I know it's over. We're done. I'm going to pick those few last fruits on the inside of the plant, pick those, and then harvest. And then the rest of the plant, I've actually pulled the plants out of the ground. Actually, Lisa went through and she cleaned up our gardens for us. It looks magnificent. We haven't quite gotten the soils ready yet, so I'll bring home a few bags of manure. I'll spread that 2 to 3 inch layer over the entire garden area and let it just sit there and percolate all winter. Kind of let it go. And then next February, a couple months, 2-3 months from now, I'll go ahead and turn that in, get our soils, get the bone meal, get everything ready for planting of potatoes next March, for onions and garlics and lettuce and spinach. There's a whole series of cool season plants. So there's two seasons: warm season, tropical plants. These are tomatoes, things you pick the fruit off, cucumbers, eggplant. These are things you're picking the fruit. Those are summer plants almost always. Things you're picking the flower, the stems, the foliage. Those are winter plants. So those are lettuce, spinach, parsley, arugula. There's a whole series of them. If you're harvesting broccoli, you're eating the flower of that plant. Those are things that like the cold. They don't like summer. They bolt. They lose their flavor. They get bitter tasting. A sweeter cauliflower is picked when it's still chilly at night. So they like the cold. They've got a lot of antifreeze built into them. That's why they're so good at their antioxidants and that kind of thing. So they're very healthy for you. And you can plant those. I'd say you could probably still plant some now and harvest by Christmas. So especially a little bit more mature plant. And so by March, I'm starting to plant all those things. So my potatoes go in the ground, root crops, radishes and carrots, they go in then. So I'm getting my soils opened up. I'm getting some organic matter back onto it, 2 to 3 inch layer, let it sit there. And then in February, I'd say by the first, between February 1 and Valentine's, sometime in there, I'll put my fertilizers down, get them ready, organics. I'll put my bone meal in there. I'll get things just kind of ready to go. I'll turn that to 1 shovel's depth. Then it'll let it sit for a week or two. And by March 1, we are back into the full-on gardening season. By then, you've got daffodils blooming. Your winter jasmine are in full bloom. Your winter blooming camellias, they're in bloom by then. I mean, spring's on. So that's the beauty of this part of the country, this part of the state, Arizona. We're 4 seasons, but it's super mild. So yeah, we'll take a little break here for 2-3 months, and we're right back at it, which is kind of exciting as a gardener. Get to see things. Pansies, we're putting a lot of pansies in right now. Heuchera. These are winter blooming things. We're so mild. Yes, it's winter, but it's so mild. They bloom right through winter. It's amazing. So you can have pot full of kale, violas, of Dusty Miller. These are things in the Midwest. Yeah, they'll bloom till the end of the year, and then they get frozen and vaporize. Not here. We don't do that. It's so easy here. It's so beautiful. Gardening is, if you hit the seasons right, gardening is very easy. If you try to garden against the season, against the environment, you're trying to put tomatoes in right now. That's what they're doing down in Phoenix. Not up here. It's too cold. Here we've had in our kales and our ornamental cabbages, our violas and pansies and lettuce. These are things that love being planted now. So work with the season, not against it. And if you see black foliage, just meant it got frosted. Pull them out, start over, get the soils ready for your gardens this year and next. Be right back after this.
Your yard will turn heads with stunning evergreen shrubs from Watters Garden Center.
Watters grows greener shrubs for year-round interest, as well as blooming shrubs for pops of color in spring.
Attract birds with a tall privacy hedge and the berries that follow.
Plus, winter evergreens are easier to grow than other plants.
No matter your landscape, we have the perfect shrubs for a greener winter.
Visit Watters Garden Center in Prescott or online at wattersgardencenter.com.
We believe in roses that smell like a rose at Watters Garden Center. The Mountain Gardener, your source for timely garden advice right for higher elevations. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening is very rewarding, with a few Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts sure to turn your thumbs even greener. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we're back in the studio with Lisa Waters Lane. She comes and just shares her garden insight, garden knowledge, garden expertise, a lifetime of gardening. Grew up, was born physically here at the garden center on manure piles.
Not true.
I'm sure out in the parking lot.
I was born in a hospital.
Prescott
like
Hospital.
everyone else.
But like hour 2 was brought to the garden center, worked in the family business. but she's got a wealth of garden knowledge. A gardener extraordinaire. I think there's some insight in sharing the microwaves, the micro airwaves.
And the microwaves.
Yeah.
You just wear tinfoil. It's all
No wonder
fine.
my hair is coming out. All of a sudden. The microwave. Been on the microwave too much. Don't stick your head in the thing. Anyway, so welcome, Lisa. Now we get down that path. I have no idea.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Can I share one thing with,
Yes.
with listeners?
You may.
So this is where it's really valuable for those that are tuned in video wise, but for you folks on the audio, this is an award we just got. We just got the best of the best garden centers, Waters Garden Center. We belong to a garden center group. There's 150 of us or so throughout the country and Canada. And you kind of your peers just acknowledge that you are the best. And we're a little place in Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, competing against Detroit and Southern California and Kansas and Florida, Calgary, British Columbia, garden center all over. And we just got the best of the best for 2023. This is our award. Yay. So they give us a big old plaque. I mean, they give us this huge, like pecan dark plaque. And how do you get this thing home when you've been traveling? This was in Cincinnati, Ohio. We all met. We all get together once a year, and we tour each other's garden centers. And then we it's a co-op, so we get together, we pool our resources, and then we hire the best consultants in the country for our industry. HR, marketing, facilities, leadership, that kind of stuff. We have them speak to us, and then we compare notes and. You have a glass of wine or beer or watch a sunset with your peers, you gain insight that way. You bring back those things and you try to implement those here in your own. And you have a resource, a network that you can call folks and go, hey, how are you doing this? And so we just share openly with other garden centers. Anyway, best of the best for this year, Waters Garden Center.
It's very nice.
Well done, Waters Garden Center team, because it's about you, not about us. So well done.
Yes. Congratulations, dear.
Now, what about you?
So I was going to talk about houseplants. So we've all kind of gotten a little chillier, but the weather's still been beautiful. But we start to move inside more. And we start focusing on those things inside our home a little more than those things outside our home. So houseplants, and it's been a big craze, especially since the pandemic.
Right.
People definitely growing more houseplants, bringing that green inside. And I've kind of done it myself. We've been big outdoor gardeners for years, but we kind of on the inside. And so I've kind of picked up a little bit on the craze and in growing more houseplants, and I've learned a lot. That it is a little bit different than outside, but some things are very similar. So a lot of people ask us, they come in, they go, oh, how do you know when it's time to repot? Is it, when do I do it? It's been 20 years. Should I repot?
Yes.
Or they, I had it 6 months and they're like, well, I need to pot it up. And so there's some things to learn, a little bit of a learning curve on that. So most houseplants like a little bit of a snug, I always call it a snug shoe or a pot. They don't want to have tons of room. They kind of like to feel closed in a little bit on their roots. And that's probably true for most of them. But there does come a time when you definitely need to repot some of those plants. And there's
that ficus tree that's so tall that now it's top heavy, it's starting to fall over. Or a jade plant that's so wide it just flops
That's
over.
definitely one of the signs. If the top is so big that you're propping other things against it to keep it from falling over, it's time to repot that. So that's definitely one of your indicators. The other thing is that when the roots of the plant are actually growing through the drainage holes.
Oh yeah.
So if you lift up that pot and you're like, it's just bound by roots, definitely time to up that container size. The other one is if the roots are actually pushing the plant up out of the pot. So if there's more roots in there than there is soil,
the plant's elevating out of the container.
It's starting to lift. Probably a good idea to move that sucker along. Also, if the soil is draining out quickly, drying out quickly. So,
Oh.
it used to be you'd water it, it would stay wet for a week, but now it's like 3 days.
Yeah.
And it just means there's not enough soil around that, the roots to keep it hydrated. So those are some of the indicators that maybe I should repot this.
If it's been over 3 or 4 years,
Oh, easily.
it's probably
Yeah.
time to repot your
Right.
plant.
And it's, I've repotted things for people where I've actually had to break the pot to get it out.
It's been 3 years too long.
Right. So it's a good idea to look at your plants, see how they're doing. When you're ready to repot, you want to go up to an appropriate size. You don't want to go from a 4-inch to a 12-inch. Typically you want to go up one size. Now, if that plant has been in that itty bitty container for a long time, maybe you go a little bit bigger to give it some room to stretch out. But typically it's one pot size up at a time. So if you're in a 6-inch, go to an 8-inch, 8-inch, go to a 10-inch. So it's just kind of a good rule of thumb. Also think about that pot, that plant. Is it a moisture loving plant? Is it like a Dracaena or a ZZ plant that wants to be dry? Think about the soil you're putting in with that plant. So if you have a sedum or a succulent or like a ZZ, things that just kind of like to go on that dry side, use more of a succulent soil. So they make a really good cactus mix soil, succulent soils. Sometimes if you're not quite sure, mix it with regular house or potting soil. And that way you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. I got to slow down and talk.
Soil is so important. Soil
It
is everything for
Right.
plants. Just like the air we breathe,
Mm-hmm.
plants breathe soil. So you get good soil,
Yeah.
they thrive. If you get bad, crummy soil, or they took shortcuts, or they just
Mhm.
took whatever's on the reproduction floor and chucked it in a bag and said, this is potting soil,
Right.
it might suffer. It
Oh,
probably will
yeah.
suffer.
It makes a big difference. And one thing I can tell you, because I've had people do this as well, do not use soil from your yard.
Oh, no. Oh, my
Your
gosh.
plants will not be happy
No,
with
yeah.
that. Our soils are
Nightmare.
too heavy, too clayish, too compacted. So yeah, you might spend a few bucks, but how important is this plant to you? And we're looking at the lifetime of the plant. So you can cost average that out.
A $20 bag of soil, it's less than that. Waters is
Mhm.
15, 16 bucks. It's going to last you for 3 years. I mean,
Right.
per month, that's like pennies.
Yeah.
Do it right the first
Definitely.
time, and you're going to have years of enjoyment down the road.
Mhm. And also pick out a good pot.
Yeah,
We
pretty
have
pot.
some beautiful ceramic pots, and all of them have good drainage. That drainage hole is important, people.
Yeah.
And it's important when you water it, you want that water to come through that drainage hole and let it drain. That way, you're getting all those roots watered enough, and it's not going to sit there like a bathtub. The roots aren't
Yeah.
going to rot on there. So that's very important as well. Also, real quick, because I know I'm running out of time, they do make African violets. They make an African violet pot.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
So it's really great to plot into those because you're watering from the bottom. The water, moves through the terracotta on there. Also orchids. So they make specific orchid pots because orchids really like to have air around their roots. So they make pots that have the holes on the sides that really are beneficial to them. So picking out the right pot, the right size, the right soil, all those things can really make a difference in how your houseplants behave.
If you're in doubt, bring it to us. If it's
Yeah.
small enough to put in the car and bring it to us, we can help you repot it even.
Do that a
Or
lot.
show you the right size, the next size up, or the right
Mhm.
style. If you had an orchid that's still in that plastic sleeve from the
Yeah.
florist, bring it in. It's good to bring it with you so you can put it in those orchid pots and see
Mhm.
which style looks best because they're
Yeah.
beautiful. They're pieces of art. An African violet pot is an actual piece of art
It
that you
is.
plant
Yeah.
that's made for African violets specifically so the leaves don't spot and they
Mhm.
bloom longer. You're going to water less. And so if in doubt, bring it. If it's so big you can't bring it in, well, take a picture, take a measurement. We can help you with
Yeah.
that. Lisa, thank you so much. We are
Sure.
out of time. Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back after this.
Grow extraordinary succulents and cactus indoors.
Water succulents are easy with lots of shapes, sizes, and colors.
Whether you're looking for a small cactus for an office desk or a huge statement succulent in your living room, we have the perfect plant.
So what are you waiting for?
Visit Watters Garden Center in Prescott today or wattersgardencenter.com to find the perfect succulent for your home and office.
We believe your garden should be natural, safe, and organic. At Watters Garden Center,
If you enjoy this show and would like to hear more, please subscribe to The Mountain Gardener wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more garden tips, tricks, and helpful advice, please check out my website at wattersgardencenter.com for classes, videos, and more, or my online garden center at top10plants.com. Throughout the week, Lisa and I can be found here at Watters Garden Center in Prescott.
welcome to the Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane. Gardening in the mountains is different. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now for better advice that works locally, welcome your host, Ken Lane.
A joy of mine is finding folks new to this kind of, they're gardeners, maybe down in Phoenix or desert, more tropical, Palm Springs, Southern California. They're new to four-season gardening. And they come in and they're going, oh, I'm used to palm trees and figs and things down there, but I'm not sure what's up here, but I know I want one plant. It's that tree. I'm not sure what it is. It's evergreen. It's got a pine needle. Has this layering, and they're describing it. It looks like a Christmas tree. I'm going, a spruce tree, a Colorado spruce. Going, yeah, that's it. They're so excited about this Christmas tree looking plant out in the yard. They see them in their neighborhood, and they want one themselves, but they're not sure how to describe it. We've got spruce mountains. Spruce grow wild on the higher ridge lines here in the mountains of Arizona. They do really well. And so you can have one yourself. Get it up there and it will eventually naturalize and go by itself. But I think they do better. They grow better, thicker, fuller, better color when you add them to your drip irrigation system. You don't have to, if you're going to kill an evergreen, it will be from overwatering, not from underwatering. So if in doubt, treat them with neglect, think bad thoughts, kick dirt at them, curse at them. They'll probably grow better for you. If you're going to overcare your spruce tree, Arizona cypress, it's a native, grows wild here. It's desired all in botanical gardens all around the planet, but it originated from right here. It's going to naturalize and go by itself. If you're going to overwater it, we probably have some better choices for you. I mean, aspens take more water, maples take more water, fruit trees, not Arizona cypress, not Colorado spruce, not pine trees, even Austrian pines, ponderosa pines, pinyon pines. We have all those, but they're kind of sensitive to wet feet. They need oxygen down around the root zones. That's why they make such good living Christmas trees or holiday trees. So a lot of folks will take them, put them on the back deck. They'll decorate them. They'll put a saucer underneath the bucket, and they just use it as a decor thing out there on their front entrance. And then they fully intend to plant it out in the yard after the holidays. You can easily do that because they're so robust. They're not using a lot of moisture right now. So we're watering our trees here at the garden center about once a week in the bucket. And the way we do it is we'll take a hose, we'll water the roots of that tree until we see water coming out the bottom of the bucket. And we go, oh, we're done. And then we're done for a week. Maybe 10 days we'll get in there. So you could easily do that and then enjoy it by the front door. Arizona, Alberta spruce, #1 selling spruce tree. It's a short little spruce, very short needle, very thick. It's got this perfect shape. It looks like it's been pruned exactly like a cookie cutter Christmas tree. They're used at the front door in containers, raised beds. It's just cute. And so we sell a lot of them and they don't get very big. So Alberta spruce gets, maybe if you let it grow for 15 years, might get as tall as you and I. And they're short. That's why they're so perfect in those pillars at your front door. If you have a little garden space or a container, you go in there, they could stay there for years and years and years. They look cute, little ribbons, little decorative clear lights. They just scream holidays. So at the garden center, we put little bows on them and we make them look holiday-ish. They would love to be by your front door. Enjoy it, water it once a week, and then go plant it out in that raised bed later. It would be fine with that. They go down to minus 40 degrees, I think maybe 50 degrees, some crazy cold we'll never see. And so they've got plenty of antifreeze in the structure. Most pine trees have plenty of antifreeze to keep them from freezing, as long as you keep them moist, but not too moist. That's the secret. So some of you folks, your hobby is not gardening. Your hobby, even now, you love going out there with the hose and watering things, making sure they're good. Be careful this time of year. It's very easy to overwater things because plants are starting to shut down. It's not as warm. The days are shorter. The nights are cooler. It's easy to get too much moisture. So if you're still treating them like you were a month ago, that might be too much moisture. So we're starting at the Lane house, we are starting to throttle back our irrigation. So I think my established trees and shrubs, things that have been in for a while, big junipers, big maples, big plants, we're watering every 10 days. And I'll back that off to every 14 days or so. I'm still watering, but not very often. So I'm still watering the same amount. So the valve, the time frame, I'm still watering for an hour and a half when I have the system cycle. I'm just playing with how often, what's the frequency do I play with? So the same amount goes on every time, but I've backed it off from every 7 days, every 10 days. And probably first part of December, I'll back it off to every 14 days. That's trees and shrubs. Now, my lower growing things, my flowers and my containers, my pansies at the front door, those are in containers and they're shallower rooted things. Those I'm watering every 3 or 4 days. Not as much. In June, I was watering them every day and they would still get kind of wilty. Now, the pressure's off. So just be careful not to overwater, but things you can use that are holiday-ish, trees that look like a Christmas tree. That one, a couple customers this week said, here's what I want. Those are Colorado spruce. Actually, that's the native one. If it has the word spruce in it, you know you've got a good plant. It's going to grow in the mountains. It's made for the mountains of Arizona. Now, what happens is we'll have a name in front. So Baccarat spruce or hoop-size spruce or baby blue spruce. They're all spruce. What we're doing is we're developing, creating new types of spruce trees that bring out, maybe it's a Fat Albert spruce. It's a Colorado spruce that's dwarfed. So instead of getting 50, 60 feet tall, it gets 18, 20 feet tall. Now you can have a spruce tree that looks like a Colorado spruce, but doesn't get ginormous. It's not going to overgrow that smaller backyard. So Baccarat spruce, it's a Colorado spruce with intense silver blue. Gets the same size, but has a deeper, richer color. You've got baby blue spruce, rich color, small footprint, tighter, fuller. So it's the cousin of a Colorado spruce, but it stays smaller and thicker, fuller and bluer. So we're bringing out characteristics of that spruce family. And so you get this very desirable look to it. And so as you shop them, you'll be going, oh, really, I'm drawn to that one. I can't look how pretty that is. They'll call to you. But the traditional one, the one that grows wild here, that's Colorado spruce. I know it's in Arizona. I would rename it and call it an Arizona spruce, but it's all the same. This lower part of the Rockies, that's the spruce tree that grows. Pine trees the same way. So everyone wants a ponderosa pine, but I wouldn't have one of those in my yard. It's basically a trunk sitting out there at the side patio. There's a better one called Austrian pine that has the same long needle, but it holds its foliage right down to the ground. Much, much better as a landscape specimen, pretty tree. You get the same long needle, same rich, green, thick look to it, but it holds its foliage better and it's not as trashy. Ponderosas they're always throwing things. They're always throwing trash into the yard. Austrian pines, they don't do that. Vanderwolf pine. It's also related to that whole Pinus, the whole ponderosa pine series, but it's got a real blue color to it. Actually, the top of the needle is blue. The bottom is white. So it gives it this really interesting, soft look to it. Those can all be planted now. They can be decorated easily keep it in the pot, used for the next month in through the holidays, then plant it in January. They'll love that. They'll be fine with that. Just keep them, water them some, but not too much. So about once every 4, 5, 6, 7 days is enough in the bucket. And once you get it in the yard and you plant it out in the gardens, in the landscape, once a couple times a month is more than enough to keep that thing happy. Then you're going to get this tremendous growth next March, April, typically sometime in there. Whenever spring hits, you get this new growth and it'll look like a fabulous new plant. You can have a evergreen tree used for the holidays. So for Christmas tree, you can have a living tree that's planted later out in the yard, your yard. Got more in store for you. Be right back after this.
Autumn is the most beautiful time of the year in the mountains, and Watters Garden Center has the brightest trees.
We've collected 700 hardy trees, including maple, aspen, ash, and oak.
Each is ready to plant, so you can enjoy brilliant fall foliage in your yard.
Shop online at top10trees.com or visit us in Prescott.
Trees are brighter at Watters Garden Center in Prescott and online at top10trees.com.
We believe small business can win against impersonal box stores at Watters Garden Center. If you enjoy this show and would like to hear more, please subscribe to The Mountain Gardener wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more garden tips, tricks, and helpful advice, please check out my website at wattersgardencenteraz.com for classes, videos, and more, or my online garden center at top10plants.com. Throughout the week, Lisa and I can be found here at Watters Garden Center in Prescott.
You've tuned in to The Mountain Gardener with local garden expert Ken Lane. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
This is the holidays have begun at the garden center. And so it starts with Christmas cactus. This is a seasonal plant. So we have mums for the fall, for Halloween. We have Christmas cactus typically show up around Thanksgiving. And then right after, and we're talking Thanksgiving's over, the poinsettias show up. And so there's lots of holiday, cyclamens show up. African violets show up. It's bromeliads. All these exciting holiday house planty kind of things start to show up. And so it's kind of fun to see as I get bored with plants. Once you sell your 500th pothos or philodendron, kind of go, okay, can you put some red spots or pink spots or white spots? But it's basically the same plant. But to see these blooming plants coming in, we have Christmas cactus in a couple sizes and like 6 different colors. Well, we've got several hundred of them, and they're just all in color. It's so exciting. Christmas cactus live for dozens, maybe 100. I've got some that are passed down generation from generation. So this is one that you pass down to your kids and your kids' kids. Literally have customers, they go, my grandmother grew this Christmas cactus, and I was given this, help me make it bloom more. Better, stronger, bigger, keep it healthier, keep it living. Because if it dies, it's not just a plant. It's now an heirloom that they want to. It's a memory of grandma, Oompa, and all these, whatever the next last generation was. I think African violets are passed down. Jade plants are passed down. There's some of these plants live dozens and dozens and dozens of years. And so you can have those and grow them. And they love Arizona. They love the dryness. They love the brightness. And so they just don't want to be outdoors. These are Christmas cactus house plants that are made to grow indoors. They're succulents. So they're kind of like cactus without spines. So they're soft. They hold their moisture in their foliage, but then they put on this beautiful, bright, fluorescent flower. And there's a secret to getting those bloomed. They need to go through a bit of a cycle. I've actually got a handout here at the garden center. Ask for it. It's on how to grow a better Christmas cactus, or better yet, go to the website, wattersgardencenter.com. Just type in Christmas cactus and it will be right there. It'll pop right up. And so we're trying to make this easy for you. The same thing. if you've got a poinsettia from last year, it's just green, we've got a handout on how to make that thing come back into that beautiful red, pink, white, or speckled foliage. There's an art to it. It's pretty simple. It's all about giving it some rest, let it go dry a little bit at a certain time, then fertilizing, then having it come back with some. There's a way to do that. Just type in wattersgardencenter.com, type in poinsettia, and it will tell you, there'll be a handout right there on how to get that poinsettia to come back into color. Main thing for this, we're into the holiday season. You're seeing the holiday plants show up, and I will physically run out of Christmas cactus. We only grow so many because I don't want a Christmas cactus after Christmas in about 3 weeks. I don't want any of them. So you got an opportunity now to get the best of the best. You can cream off the best, and they will bloom now through the end of the year. You can have those in your gardens. If you're lacking some color, you're missing being the color outdoors has gotten fried because the frost got to them, but you want some color indoors. You just love the look and feel of Christmas cactus because it just screams holidays for you. You can have those. Now's the time. The next couple of weeks, you've got a great selection, and then it starts to get thinned out for you. So Christmas poinsettias will be next week. They'll be in, and they will be, hundreds of them. And the number one seller is red, but if you want some pinks and whites and others, you grab them early because I want to run out as we get closer to the holidays. That's it for this show. Throughout the week, Lisa and I love talking to fans of the show here at Watters Garden Center. For luxurious evergreens in the yard, look no further than Watters.
We have a luscious selection of evergreens that look their best in winter, so you can enjoy a beautiful landscape no matter the cold.
Locally grown for stunning appearance and ability to thrive in cold weather.
Perfect for that touch of luxury your neighbors are sure to be jealous of.
Luxurious evergreens at Watters Garden Center in Prescott and wattersgardencenter.com.
Your one-stop shop for evergreens. Visit us today.
We believe we're the ones that can fill the world with sunshine at Watters Garden Center. If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in your landscape that just feels better, then tune in every week to The Mountain Gardener. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting wattersgardencenter.com. That's Watters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.